Hello, everybody, and thank you. You're my all access family, which means I have access to you. You think you have access to me, but this is our opportunity to have access to you. And so I'm really excited about our first conversation together, and I want to thank you for all your questions. So I have spent yesterday reading through, and then this morning, and because I look for patterns in the questions, I look for you, to put it, I read it from my soul. I read it from an overview of what you're sensing, of what motivated this person to ask this question, because a question just doesn't come out of the moment, it comes out of your life. And so as I think you can appreciate that there's probably a theme to the questions, that many of you are asking questions that are very similar about what's going on in the world. And and then there's questions about the struggle with forgiveness, and there's questions about the struggle with your inner life. So because there's so many questions, I have categorized them with a desire and an effort to get to the specifics. But typical of my style, I thought I would enter into this with a little chat about something that might position us to understand a little bit about this moment in time, that might bring us all together as if we're all going to wrap ourselves in the same warm blanket of what's happening now. Because how can that not be part of what is talking to all of us? We are the only generation that has ever experienced a global pandemic. Just think about that. We are the only generation to experience, I read today, the estimated extinction of another 1,000 species. We're the only generation to experience climate change that is incorporating the entire village of life. We are the only generation to experience the melting of the glaciers. We're the only generation to know this. So I don't think we've begun to even imagine how all of these factors, and I've just mentioned a few, are influencing us as individuals. And for how long now? I don't know how long. I have no idea. But I spend my time now in prayer and in contemplation and in dialogue with that which cannot be seen. Trying to understand how to understand all of this. Because I see my role now for the rest of my life, however short or long that will be, as trying to interpret, bring hope, bring guidance through this time that is quite perilous, but in all forms of peril. There are candles lit along the way. And in learning more about what is this moment in time. And so I consider that anything that comes along my path, because that is my constant prayer, to be part of the answer to that prayer. And that, by the way, is a jewel for you. That when you do live in a prayer, you live inside a prayer. You just don't say it. You live in this prayer. It breathes in you. This constant sense of talk to me about this. Talk to me. I live in this sense of constant revelation. This is what I want to understand now. I don't want to understand anything about me anymore. The hell with me. I want you to talk to me about now and how I can do something about the now on behalf of others. What? I am a vessel now. I'm like fine wine. I'm too old to be anything else. I've worked too hard. So, in my years of studying world religions, I've absorbed a lot. I've absorbed, Buddhism and Christianity and Judaism, and you never learn enough. You never learn enough. And along the way, I read the Bhagavad Gita somewhere, but not really read it. I read it. I glanced through it. I didn't learn it. It didn't come into my soul. It didn't come into my soul. And then a book about the Bhagavad Gita arrived in my house. And a manuscript that someone has written about the Bhagavad Gita, Stephen Cole. The book's not out. It will be. And I was asked to endorse this. And in my life as a publisher, which was decades ago, I remember when I was first starting out as a publisher, that an editor from New York, her name was Eleanor Friedman, I think. Anyway, she was a really well-respected editor at the time, and this goes back to the 1980s. And she said to me, "Oh, you know what, Carolyn?" She said, "You could tell a good manuscript in 3 days, in 3 pages. The first 3 pages, win or lose, right there." And I remember thinking, what a terrible act of disrespect. A person puts all their effort into a book and you're going to toss it in three pages. Actually, there's a lot of truth to that. But I decided that I would at least bear each author the courtesy of reading the first chapter. So I sat down with this book. And it's on the Bhagavad Gita, the wisdom of the Gita. Well, somehow it just poured into me. And I had read it years ago, but I didn't get it. And then I got it. And when I get something, it's visceral. It's like a visceral plug-in. It's like a get it now. Get it. So I'm opening this, not with all this gibberish I'm sharing with you, but with this, as a way of placing us in this moment and as a way of giving us a background through which I will answer questions and chat as if you were with me in my office, as if we were under the same blanket together, trying to understand the very same things. And so, it's the story of Krishna and his charioteer, Arjuna and his charioteer Krishna. And they're on their way to a great battle. And Arjuna is a great warrior. And Krishna is the one who drives his chariot, but Arjuna does not know that Krishna is a god. He doesn't know that. Krishna stands a foot taller than Arjuna. And in the light, he sparkles like blue, but kind of a bluish light. But no one kind of really thinks, isn't that unusual? But whatever. And they arrive at this battlefield. And the night before the battle, and Arjuna is in great conflict because he knows that on the other side of the battlefield is his family, his relatives, people he loves, and he has to fight them. That he He has been called to this. He's in such anguish. These are people he loves. And he sits there on the ground with Krishna. And he says to him, if I don't go to this battle, he says, first, this is a battle that, and here's the line that got me, that will tear apart the fabric of the universe. Now I want you to absorb those words. And I want you to picture yourselves, all of us, sitting on the ground, facing a battlefield. I want you to picture that. I want you to picture that we are on a precipice, facing inevitable strife that has been set into motion, that maybe the fabric of our known universe is about to be torn apart, is getting torn apart. Our environmental fabric, our species fabric, our social fabric, our sexual fabric, every fabric we know. Arjuna says to Krishna, if I fight this battle and kill the people I love, I will incur great karma. I will spend lifetimes in purgatory. If I do not fight this battle, I will incur great karma because it is my dharma, my contract, my calling, the fates, the destiny. This moment has placed me here. I'm a great warrior. I'm the greatest warrior. So I have been placed here by something greater than myself to face something that is inevitable. I cannot leave and I cannot fight. He looks at Krishna, who he doesn't know is a god. And he finally gives up. And he says, I surrender. I cannot make this decision. I have been given something that is bigger than me to decide. I want you to absorb what I've just said to you. That we are all facing the fabrics of our universe getting shredded in somehow, our individual and our collective, in ways we cannot comprehend, but we are experiencing the tapestry of life as we have known it getting shredded. Krishna embraces Arjuna, who he still doesn't understand as a god. And Krishna holds him. And he says, take refuge in me. Take refuge. He says, love me. Love me. Love me. I am the way. And then Krishna says, life has its wisdom. Many will die in this battle. I want you to listen to what I'm saying. Many will die in COVID. Many will die. This world is going to change. It will not look the same. Deciding to how we ask our questions, what we ponder about, if we ponder about ways to go backwards, if we wonder about how to make our life the way it was, if we wonder about why is our life changing, let it be within a larger fabric, because Krishna, his God wisdom was, for every mortal body that is shed, the soul will find another one. After every death comes life. After every life comes death. This is the way of life. Why are you mourning this? I've set it up. I've set it up for eternity, for continuum. Don't mourn something where the laws of God have incorporated work in such a way that they manage your sorrow, that they manage your fear. Do you hear what I'm saying to you? That they manage our fears if we truly get it. That our fears themselves are going to be managed. This is so gargantuan. I want to take all of you and I want to hold you like this and just squeeze the fear out of you. I want to squeeze every fear out of you. What if, imagine we were all sitting together under the sky, under the night sky. And I'm saying to you, now listen to me, the fabric of the universe that we know, the tiny universe, the tiny little earth universe, that the only thing you think exists is ripping apart. And it's ripping apart so that you can see the fabric of the cosmos, so that you can see the fabric of the soul-sized universe, and that you can finally wire your power into that network, into a network greater than you have ever imagined, into the mystical network, into the network of, instead of the network that is driven by the love of power, that you can wire yourself into the network that is inspired by the power of love. By what you can do just by closing your eyes and radiating and praying. Let love flow to that person. It doesn't matter that you cannot see it, because you know how this network works. You're done having to always see the consequences of all your choices. Gee, I have to be rewarded. I have to see it. I said, no, you have to get out of that. Shed that mortal desire to always get a reward and always get a thank you and a reward and to always get that. But rather, excuse me, but rather that you receive this sense of grace that comes from knowing I am breathing with the whole of life, and all life breathes with me, and I finally get it. I finally get it. Now, so that's the background. That's the background that I want to just lay, that I do believe the fabric of our universe, our personal universe, our collective personal universe is getting torn. Yes, I do. And I would be in error to tell you that I think everything's going to be all right tomorrow. It's not going to be all right. The momentum will move us forward. And what is in our hands is this incredible invitation to shed the fabric of your inner self, to know more. And how we do that in micro and macro ways is what every challenge in your life is about. How do I use this moment, use this question to understand how to move forward? One moment. So, excuse me. I'm going to now dive into your questions, and I want to thank you for all your marvelous, marvelous questions.